Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Tech Gala and today we have Anubhav with us. So आज का टॉपिक थोड़ा डिफरेंट है with respect to what you have been seeing on this channel and it will be based on how if you are an undergrad and how you can get into research. So I have met two kind of people and अपना दो kind of लोग का दो type का opinion रहता है. First of all एक sort of people रहते हैं who just they feel कि अपने को कुछ भी internship नहीं मिला and they go for internship with Indian institutes and those are unpaid. So generally एक उनको एक दिमाग में आ जाता है कि research internships are not that great. People doing that are people जिनको industrial exposure नहीं मिल पाता है. And secondly, I have seen people who are extremely passionate like Anubhav, and when I had two friends in my FITZY days, they left JE Advance and they went to IISc Bangalore because they were super passionate about working around physics. सो ऐसे लोग होते हैं आई एम प्रीटी श्योर आप में से भी काफ़ी लोग होंगे जिनको रिसर्च के बारे में उतना आइडिया नहीं है उन आप लोग को शायद उतना एक्सपोजर भी कभी मिल नहीं पाया एंड बिकॉज काफ़ी लोग को ये लगता है कि रिसर्च करने पे अपने को पैसा नहीं मिलता है सो वी नीड टू बी डिपेंडेंट ऑन आवर पेरेंट्स टू फंड दैट आवर फर्दर स्टडिंग वगैरह बट ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं होता people get a lot of money and people also get a lot of stipend and we can also be self independent quite early in your career. So आज पूरा डिस्कशन अपन करने वाले हैं ऑन दिस थिंग हाउ एज एन अंडरग्रेड यू कैन गेट इनटू द फील्ड ऑफ रिसर्च एंड अनुभव is sort of you can say a veteran in terms of being an undergrad researcher, but also he is just I would say starting as a researcher into the real world. So he will also tell how you can bridge the gap between in your undergrad journey and then switching to the industry. So before we start, Anubhav, if you can mention about yourself, about your journey a bit, and then we can start and places you have worked on. Actually it will be good to go.
Yeah, thank you, Nigida. So I'd like to go up with first my introduction. So hello guys, my name is Anuvab Sen. I'm currently a third year undergraduate, going to my fourth year in IST Shipur, and I'm currently a MITACS Global Link Research Scholar at McMaster University, and I'm researching on a niche topic on machine learning, applications of machine learning, and along with that, I have previously interned at ST Microelectronics as a software development intern and also a Dardwise scholar at University of Bremen. So my primary research areas are on machine learning and how I have gone through that. I'll be sharing you my journey today, that how I have gone through my research journey, how to foster, how to get into research internships, what are the perks of pursuing research internships abroad rather than in India, the differences between research pursued in India and the research pursued abroad. And also I like to share you how to contact professors, SOPs, emails, and like I want to break the myth about research internships in general. Like how can research internships be well paid enough as well, and what do the other universities like the IITs in the top 5 IITs they do well to go into paid research internships which are very handsomely paid. So I'd like to
Okay,
share you my
and talking
experience
about
today.
Anubhav, I was saying that, and I found it quite interesting. First of all, he got quite a good rank in his JE Advance, and he still didn't went for an IIT. So, what was the reason actually? Why didn't you go for an IIT?
So the main reason of not going into IIT was that it is about the branch. For me, like the branch was quite important. So I wanted to either pursue something in software engineering or hardware engineering, and it was not possible for me to get into those programs in IITs. I would have got some core branches in IITs, and I like personally thought that a master like to get into a master's program into the top universities in the world, or into delve more into the subject I want to personally, would have been a roadblock in terms of pursuing another subject which I'm not interested particularly in the future. So like if I would have taken a core branch in IIT or even like in other places, then possibly I would have to do that alongside the along the interesting subjects I want to pursue. For example, in computer science and machine learning. So that is the reason I like left uh, uh, to like decided not to go to IIT and decided to pursue a degree in electronics engineering because I wanted to pursue my interest in a intersection between software and hardware. I wanted to pursue which interests me both. But I was pretty sure that I'm not interested in subjects like civil engineering or chemical engineering. which left me the choice to not to go
Understandable.
into an
And
IIT.
even one thing that I know that I felt pretty nice that you started with competitive programming. You have given some contest, I have seen that you have had some Google hash code ranks, and I hope you also had some Google Kickstarter rank. Basically, you did competitive programming, and post that, now you are a researcher. You are living as of now in Toronto, and you also, as you mentioned, that you will be traveling around to places like you will be going to Germany, and you are roaming around. So, how did the shift started? Like
Yeah.
from being a computer science student, because I'm pretty sure even in Shipur also not a lot of folks must be into research. And so how did
Yeah.
everything change, and how did everything start? Like what is what was it like? Do you have a background of having researchers in your family, or what is it like? What made you shift from this typical, or what we are doing, like software to shifting into the total research segment? So what was the shift and how it occurred? Yeah.
The point was that like after doing quite a bit of research, I understood that I can like go into a software company anytime I wish if I have the required amount of skills to do that. But I also wanted to pursue that what else I can do to make a larger impact, to like to do something novel which I can monetize also. It's not only that I will do research just to produce a research paper. I intended to do research to produce something of my own, a product of my own. Like I'll give you a example. If you check Google out, it is also a product of a research paper in 1998, which was done by Sergey Brin under a PhD professor. Similarly, like if you see most of the research startups which come up are a product of research. It's a product of most of the startups which have come up, like generative AI, which is right now in the hot mix. Also, Chat GPT, the pre-trained transformer models. So once you come up with a pretty novel idea in your research background, it won't take you much time to monetize that thing and get a product out of yourself. But if you are my personal mix was that if I was working in a company, I can do that anytime I wish. But if I have to like give my best, this is try my best to do some quality research to produce something novel of my own so that I can work on a startup, like making a startup or building a startup, which is something like to do something which people have not done before. Then I thought that this 20 to 25 years, this age gap is giving me the best time to go for it, like to give my best shot to meet the most intelligent people in the industry. And even though it could have been done simultaneously in the software industry, I decided to pursue research because I wanted to work something on machine learning. It interested me from the very first year when I was building a machine learning project. I saw the big capability, like the capabilities of AI in itself, the capability of statistics in general, and that interested me. That okay, what if I can do something of my own in machine learning and try to build a product later in India as well? And that led me to pursue research in machine learning. And my first big break in ISI Kolkata, which was the result of a cold email, which was a result of a cold email to my to the professor from a statistics department there, resulted in me liking machine learning in general, liking quantum computing in general. And then I saw that the potential of these new technologies in revolutionizing what I wanted to achieve. Like it is getting an intersection. Like if I wanted to pursue something right now, something novel, then I have to do research on some topics which have not been delved into before. And checking into software, I had to build products for a company. Then why won't I actually take a risk to build something of my own at this moment? If I may fail, for that I have the backup of a job. For that I am also, that is why I also did competitive programming and DS alongside, so that if I fail in research, if I fail in startup, in making or building the startup, then I can go into a job alongside. So, like whatever research I have worked upon on my first break, was the purpose was not to only work on a research paper, but was to build a product which could be monetized as well. Like my previous work was building, like my first break was studying quantum computing and to build quantum algorithms which will compete with the classical algorithms. And those quantum algorithms we can provide it to the other companies. Like after patentizing those algorithms, we can provide it to the other companies for in return of their services. So we were thinking of building a service based quantum computing company for ourselves, and we are almost in the verge of doing so after 2 years of hard work. And the next research which I previously, like after that, the research thing boomed up. Like what happened is, once I got into one research internship, the professor like liked my work, and he referred me to the top, like his top connections in the best colleges in the world. And like I got my another
Maybe we
break
can
in
talk
NTU
on
Singapore.
that. We
In
will be
NTU
discussing
Singapore,
things a bit by bit. So in your first break, like we got it, like
yeah,
that you started working with like around the lines of quantum computing. But what was your prerequisite knowledge? Because suppose there is a particular person who just wants to get in, right? And if I
yeah,
say I just got into my college, I'm in the first year student, I just got in, and I want to do research, right? And say I just want to get into your field, and that is AI, ML, deep learning, all those things. And so how can I get into it? Because I think it won't be wise to you don't have any knowledge, and you just apply a request to a professor ki, hey, I want to work with you. I don't think that is a wise decision. So why what should people actually have
right.
a prerequisite set of knowledges or anything, and after that how they should reach out?
Right. So I can tell you that most of the professors want some prerequisite from you so that you can get into the work as soon as possible. But in some cases, you can, like in 100, if you give in 100 cold emails to the professors, you will see few will also like agree to guide you in the process. They will give you material to study upon, they'll give you time to get you upon. So as I told you, it took me 6 months to learn the work, and then I get on with the work. So in that case, you have to try with the PhD students under the professors who are willing to guide you that what to study, what to learn, and then you can delve upon the research internship or the proper research work, be it industrial or academia based work with the professor. In my case, it was the industrial based work. Now the PhD students are more than eager to guide the bachelor students, undergrad students who are getting in. Why? Because, like in collaboration, the is mostly the undergrads in India who work on the implementation of the software, and the PhD students work on the theoretical implementation of the papers or the work which they do. So the PhD students are willing to guide the undergraduates, and they will help you and give you a path, and you will learn. And once you learn, once you start your work, once you get on with it, and you build the connections, they will help you to get other research work, other funding for other work, and also they will also give you stake in, if you are doing an industrial work, then they'll also give you stake and nice stipend as well, as happened in my case. So what I will say is that in first, it's better to go with a PhD student who's working under a professor, learn from him how research works, what you have to learn, what are the prerequisites to do the work, to do the internship, and then you request him so that you can work under the professor, the supervisor, and you get on with your work. So this is very important because most of the times professors won't like to take students who don't have any experience. And that is the most crucial part, even in
Okay.
internships abroad. So this is for, like, in what I have observed by interacting with students from IITs especially, is that they have, like in their first year, they have research clubs where seniors guide the juniors to do research. They guide them to like take them in research projects. They guide them with their own experience and let them do a paper or so. And with this, the students apply to professors in
Okay.
second year in industrial or academia projects. But if you are not having that privilege of having top research clubs in IIT, like just like the IITs, like IIT Roorkee has a very amazing culture of research clubs. They have top research clubs who innovate in top industrial projects, and these industrial projects also go into building of large startups in IITs as well as in BITS, as I have observed by interacting with these students. But if you are lacking that, what you can do is you can leverage the power of LinkedIn. You can use LinkedIn to connect with the PhD students of different IITs and colleges, and they will be more than willing to help you, guide you with your first work, what to do, how to learn, and then also they will get you connected with the professors. Also, you can also try to connect with the seniors of your college who have enough research experience. They will also help to guide you that what to do. They'll also tell you what to study, and they'll also take you in for a research project if necessary. As I have done with my juniors, I took them in a research project with me, and also we are on the verge of publishing a research, like quite a few research papers at the moment. And these research papers are not only focused on only academia, but also we are building on something really novel. Like my research topic, which I've taken a second year junior with me, was working on speech command recognition. If you know, the Google speech command recognition recognizes words as we speak. So the accuracy of the most recent model of OpenAI has their speech command accuracy of 97.8%. We have improvised the accuracy to 99.58 with a new model. And once this paper is successful, we have also put it for patent. So like once this patent is done, we can earn, because this model will be used by the companies, and this will also give you a huge leverage to apply for research R&D positions in industrial companies like Amazon, Samsung, who have huge R&D structures, so you can work with them industrially. And the biggest point of connecting with professors for research internship is that these professors are usually the ones who work not only in academia but also as head of these companies research R&D units, and they will also offer these students, the PhD students under them, or even brilliant undergraduate students under them, industrial exposure and R&D positions in companies after they graduate. So you see, research is not only limited to academia research, what people think about. These professors have huge connections with the industrial research. And if you see, Google produces its Google or Samsung or Amazon, you can see any company has their best research, like have their best researchers or like workers in their research division, the Google brain or the Samsung R&D division. They are having the highest paid positions, as well as these people are the ones who actually bring cutting edge research which are integrated into the products. So going into research that way isn't a very bad option either. And mostly signing up with the professors, these professors will help you a lot. Once you get your first break, these professors will connect you with other people and you can work on projects, be it
So
whatever
as you were
you want.
mentioning, that your professor helped you get connected with NUS Singapore, and post that I've also seen that things
Yeah.
began and on and on. You worked with a lot of foreign universities.
So that is the difference. In India, the research like has progressed, and in like places like ISC Bangalore there is cutting edge research done, but still that bringing that research to an industrial application to make an impact, that is better in terms of abroad, because in abroad they work on huge amounts of, like I'll say, grants. Like the grants like itself of like organization is willing to fund you around a crore to work on a research project alone, which can be of any industrial use to them. They aren't even sure that okay, that will be useful to them, but they are willing to fund you. But in India, you'll see getting a startup grant from a research idea is very difficult. So that is why if you want to build in and learn abroad, you can get in and learn abroad and then apply those programs, apply those knowledge in India, tap into the market in India. And like how I was inspired to do this was because I used to read a lot of posts in LinkedIn of other people, of some students from MIT who went to MIT from IIT Madras, who studied from MIT, who graduated from MIT, and finally built a very big startup in India, education based startup. Similarly, I was inspired by them, and then I started to pursue, and finally I got connected with professors who were interested. Like here, you'll see a professor worth $30 million. He's part of the quantum computing school. He teaches, but he like built a company with his students only, did a like the similar work which I am working upon right now, and sold that company, and he's worth $30 million in University of Waterloo. Now he's again working with us on other projects. So like Here professors just don't want to do cutting edge research, but they want to apply research to real industrial life applications, build a company, get those fundings, and earn from that. And that is what that is what made me work like abroad specifically, because it was colliding with my interests, as I told you before, that I just did not want to work on research, but also on something intersection between research and business where I can earn from my own research work. So that inspired me to work abroad.
Yeah, and even I had a story like in which one of the very closely I knew one person, like she went to IIT Roorkee, and post that she was researching for a particular topic and she needed an instrument, and she got the funding for it. She bought the instrument, but the institute was not allowing her to take that into her department, and she felt there was a lot of traction to do research in IIT Roorkee. So she completed her degree and she went to MIT for her further studies, and then it became super easy for her to pursue everything because there are a lot of support that people say that in abroad people actually value researcher simply, and over here people value that people who are earning. And normally it has been seen that even in whenever I have seen my friends who are applying to IITs for research, there are even I have seen scenarios when they are paying for doing that, like they're paying sort of money, and then they are getting the research internship. And as you mentioned, things are particularly different abroad. And and as you have mentioned couple of times about the stipend and money, so can you give a rough estimate for someone, because ultimately money matters. We cannot ignore the fact money
Yeah.
matters. And if you can give a rough idea
Yep.
on what is the general stipend that you can receive while you are working in India, and even you can receive while you are working in abroad, assuming that you don't have any patent, and as you mentioned you're building patents, and you will be taking royalties or you will be doing that service based, that's different. But keeping that apart, what is the general stipend that someone who is interested can earn?
Yeah. So, like in top research programs in India, you will have the IIT Kanpur Search Program, the IIT Roorkee program, IIT Roorkee Spark Internship Program. Also, you also have programs like the IASC Internship, which is funded by Indian Academic Society. So these, like, they will just cover your accommodation to go there, and they'll, like, most of the in IIT Kanpur you have to pay to get the research internship. Like, you have to pay it yourself. In Roorkee they give you 10,000 or something like in a month, and in IASC they cover your accommodation fees and they give you the food and the hostel. So they do the bare minimum for you to go and live there. But the situation abroad is a little bit different. Like, as I am in MITACS, I can tell you the total compensation for MITACS is around $11,000 for a span of 10 weeks to 12 weeks. And considering what people may tell me that the PPP is around 5 to 10 times higher, but then staying in Canada for around a month or so and going around the borders of US as well, like, I can tell you personally that the food cost here is around 2 times that of India, but the electronics and appliances cost and other amenities cost is actually lesser than India's. So, like, $11,000 for around 10 weeks, you'll save a lot. It's not that it's only $11,000. You're also getting free health insurance, travel insurance, coverage, student benefits, everything. So, like, and also subsidized fees for staying in, like, decent, like, high class. I will not say high class, but pretty decent hostels, you can say. So, along with getting the best facilities here, the best lab facilities, which are one of the best in the world. So, like, they do give a lot of research funding, which is even a lot higher for, like, the amount of diversity we have in these programs. Like, we have students from all around the world coming here, not only IITs or Indians, like Mexicans, Europeans, Americans themselves coming here to do internship work. And the big point is that this is not only a research academia based internship, as I told you, it is also you can work
So how
on
is
industrial projects.
my tax journey
Like,
started? Since you're getting into my tax,
yeah,
what if if you can just explain
yeah.
people for my tax, because I guess there are certain institutes who are allowed. If I'm wrong, like I don't know, because I have not seen any of my junior applying for MITACS, because I guess only third year people can do that. Like if you're in a third year, and I have not seen
Yeah,
any of my junior
yeah.
knowing, or I'm not sure even if you don't know or don't know, because for example in NIT Rourkela, even people are not going for Smart India hackathon, because they have a barrier where people need to organize that in the college, and then it is a step further. But in our college it is not done, so people from NIT Rourkela is are not going to Smart India hackathon. Is there something similar for MyTex? Like that is everyone eligible for that?
Yeah, so like I'll say that our network was key to get MyTax eligible for an institute. MyTax, we weren't eligible for MyTax for 3 years consecutively, but it was our efforts, like from our year, who like we convinced our alumni to plead to the administration to somehow convince them to pay the bare minimum of fees to register ourselves in the MyTax program. And like it was a like it was a big advantage to us after that, because 11 of us got into MyTax in total. And and like they got into various other universities in Canada. But the main point was that like getting into MyTax was crucial for us, because like it gave a lot of exposure to the students of core branches. Like the placement situation in our college for core branches isn't that good. But then this the programs like MyTax give them a lot of exposure. Also, they give them the exposure to go for other opportunities abroad. So, like after we became eligible for MyTax, we had to go through the application process of MyTax. So the application process of MyTax was pretty simple. You have to go and fill in the application page in MyTax Global Link Research Internship page. After filling in, you have to write three essays. Three essays. One essay will be regarding yourself, your research experience. Second will be regarding your previous achievements. What have you achieved? And third, done previous research work, then what are the tech stack or whatever you have used and all that you have to write. And you have to justify what have you achieved from that research work. After that, there is a time period of 1 month, after which professors will shortlist
Okay,
which
so were
students they
you applying
like.
to particular colleges, or was it a generalized application?
No, you have to
And how
select
many
which
can you
colleges
select?
we can apply. So
How many can you select? Like if you
yeah,
can break down the process a bit, like
yeah. Yeah. I will go with this. So we can
okay,
select only 7 colleges. So we have to be very, and out of which they have to be from 3 different
okay,
provinces in Canada. You cannot select all colleges from one
okay. So
single
first
province.
process, okay. Like if I break
So
down for
here,
someone who don't know, and even like I don't know because I have never
yeah,
applied for MyTax. So first of all, MyTax is an organization, right? It's a company, and they are organizing the entire thing. So is it like very much similar to Google Summer of Code, where Google organizes the thing, Google
yeah,
pays, Google organizes sort of? Is it like similar to that? Okay,
yeah. It is similar to that. It's like my tax doing everything for the institutes. The institutes literally have to do nothing. They just have to like get the students
work with
and
them.
like just like host the students.
Okay, so
That's all they have
first
to
step
do.
was to like
So
select the colleges, then write the essays. Okay,
yeah, after writing the
okay,
essays, you have to select the colleges which you want to go for. And my test gives you a restriction in that you cannot select all
okay,
colleges from the same province, so that research is equally improved in different provinces all over Canada. Like, so that is why like uh, they tell that you have to apply in at
okay,
least 3 different provinces. So after you apply in 3 different provinces, you have to give a rating according to which is your what is your preference. For example, you have to rate the colleges according to a preference order, and then you will submit the project. So in these colleges, after the like once the 7 colleges is selected, these 7 colleges will have 7 projects from 7 different professors. So you don't have like you can select any particular project from any professor from any other institute and select that, but you can select 2 projects from the same
okay,
professor as well, of the same institute. But the restriction finally will be that you have to at least select three
okay,
unique universities from 3 different
okay,
provinces. 3 different provinces is the crucial factor in MITAS, which you have to keep in mind. And not only that, you have to also keep in mind that usually professors get kind of limited funding from MITACS regarding this, because like a professor may have 10 different projects, but if like but professor mostly gets funding maximum of 2 to 3 projects out of those. They won't get 10 projects funding, so they have to select out of those 10 projects which 3 projects they want to like get in. Finally, after the whole application process is done, they have to select, okay, these 3 projects and these 3 students they will want to take for
Okay,
this
so
particular
per
project. So
okay,
you
so
have to
per
be very
project as
aware.
well, there are
Yeah.
limitations on the number of students they are taking, right? So okay, so I'm breaking down everything as far as
Yes.
what I've understood. So firstly, you write three essays. Post that, you select seven
Yeah.
universities, and those seven universities should be from different.
Not
Okay, less
necessarily
or
seven
no,
universities.
up to
You
seven.
can, yeah, yeah, you can, yeah, up to seven, but they have to be at least from 3 different provinces. So minimum three unique
Okay, and I
universities you
am not
have to
well
select.
aware with the map of Canada. Like, how many provinces are there?
There are
Okay,
around 10
okay,
to 11 provinces, but then I will say that it is preferable to work in the 3 best provinces in Canada will be Quebec, Ontario,
okay,
and British Columbia. Ontario, Toronto is the best place to work in. Quebec, Montreal is the best place to work in, and British Columbia, Vancouver. So these are also hubs of software engineering in
okay,
Canada, and best software companies also are in these places only for you to work on. So if you are want to work on the best company, best colleges in the world, and then get into the best opportunities, these 3 provinces is what you should
okay.
try for,
So these are also, yeah.
because you'll have most
Okay,
competition in
so
those
even like for the
places.
tips as well, like as you mentioned that MyTax is offering stipend, right? And I guess as you mentioned, three provinces. I don't remember the name. Oh, it is like okay. So people can hear
Yeah.
what are the three provinces. So in these three provinces, as you mentioned, competition will be more because everyone knows these are the three best. So what will be your suggestion on that? Like how should people apply to increase the chances of getting selected? And another question,
Yeah.
what I
So
had
what?
was, suppose as you mentioned that you write three essays initially. After that, you select the universities, and post that professors are selecting you guys, right?
Yes, but you have to have bare minimum
Okay,
CGPA criteria also. MyTax will directly reject you or not send your application to the professor if you don't have a CGPA above
okay,
8.5 plus. If you're if you're a student who is from a non
okay,
IIT or an IT. But if you are a student outside of IIT and non IIT, sorry, if you're a student from IIT and NIT, then you have the CGPA criteria of up to
okay,
8 as well. So IIT and NITs get an advantage of CGPA 8 plus, and for non-IITians or NITians, that CGPA criteria is 8.5 plus. So this is something which people
good
need to see,
CGPA.
that they are getting into that good CGPA or not, and also they are an
Yeah,
eligible institute or not. So to be an eligible institute, you have to be an AICTE approved institution, as well as pay the annual membership to SICI. The SICI is the partner organization of Indian government and Canadian government to foster research, innovation, cultural diversity, and everything. So like these, like MITACS and SICI collaborate to bring in exchange students, to bring in research, to bring in funding, to produce inter-collaborative industrial project startups from India and Canada as well. So your institute has to be part of SICI and has to pay the annual membership
okay.
fee
And
as well.
like since the
So
entire process, what I've understood is based on majorly like CGPA is, I guess, the cutoff criteria. Post that it will be majorly on your essays,
yeah,
right? So is there anyone like who
yes.
have not done research and they might be interested in it can get in?
Yeah, so the point is, like the completion of the process is like this. After you apply for like after you apply for all the universities, the professors will shortlist a number of students for the project, and then they will take interviews of those eligible students, and they'll give them assessments. They will give them work to do, and basis on that, they will review that which student they like the most. Then after that, you will get a chance. After the interviews, you will get a chance to reorder your projects preference, and the professors can also reorder their preference of their students, and based on the order of preference, you will be shortlisted to that professor for the MyTax internship. For example, if my project under this professor, I have put that on first preference, and the professor has also put me on first preference, then it's for guaranteed that I am getting the project. But if it's so that I have put that on first preference, but the professor has put me in second preference, and the professor put someone else as the first preference, then that person will get the project. I won't get the project. So in that sense, it will be really competitive because professors do take a lot of interviews,
Okay.
and in those interviews they do give a lot of assessments, especially if you're from
Okay.
software domain. If you're some software domain, give you a lot of assessments. They'll give you a tough situation or a tough thing to do, and they'll tell you fix it, or they'll tell you implement this and bring the accuracy to this much, and they'll give you a very limited time frame to do it. So after you do that, they will bring in a formal interview, and they will discuss with you what you want to achieve, what is your project goal, what you want to do, and have you come before and done an internship abroad or not, and how they feel about you, and what is the main purpose of the internship. They will give you a brief outline, and then they will most of them will also tell you in the interview that they have
Okay.
liked you or not. They are putting you like in my case, I had two interviews, and both the professors told me that you are the top two people, you're the top two students I want to get me for the I want to get for the project. So do put in as your so
Okay.
do put me as also in the first preference order. So then it was my way of selection that which university I choose, because it was like I was kind of guaranteed that the professor liked me, he liked my interview, he liked my assessment work. So like, okay, I was fine. Okay, I have high chances of getting in. So like it was me choosing which university and which professor I like the most and put them in the preference order for the same. Now, as I told you, MITACS is not all about research in academia. You don't have to have research experience. You can have software development as a course, and it's not as a course. It means I have an experience in software development, make good projects, and there are plenty software projects in my types, plenty of them. And these software projects are mostly related to app development, website development, also integrating ML data pipelines, working on industrial projects with Canadian companies. As I told you before, that MITAS also fosters industrial innovation. So there are many students here who are just working on software development, who have also got GSOC but left GSOC, or doing GSOC and MITAX software development work together here. So, like, there are many students who are doing software development work, as I told you, machine learning work. So, it's your preference that what is your domain. You just choose that domain and apply in MyTax. There are students who are working in political research, to economic research, to software development, to AI/ML research, to industrial research, to academia research. So, they have huge amount of projects, total 4,000 projects
Okay.
to
Okay.
select
Okay.
from.
And also, you mentioned that
And
people who have that
yeah,
fire for entrepreneurship, so they're also getting funding, right? Like, if I'm not wrong, yeah.
yes. Yes. So once, like, now, what are the perks of getting the MITAX internship? Once you complete the MITAX internship, you will get like masters, like a huge masters fund from MITAX to do your masters in any college in Canada. So you can do your masters considerably, almost for a very less price or almost for free in Canada, because they give you a great amount of MITAS Global Link Masters fellowship, which they give. Along with that, they give former MITAX interns startup funding. If you have a startup work and you want to work with that with any Canadian company or any Canadian in collaboration with any Canadian college, then you can go for the MITAX Accelerate program. And with the MITAX Accelerate program, you can get up to $60,000 from MITAX alone for the funding, as well as huge amount of connection from MITAX and global business leaders who will help you to make your startup a success. On top of that, they also have fundings for postdoc students who want to do their postdoc, PhD students. They also give you the leverage to give a research proposal to the professor, any professor in Canada, and that professor, and then along with the permit of that professor, you can apply to MyTax Elevate program and like get funding for your own research proposal up to $15,000. There are also special startup grants also. I'm talking about the startup grants
Okay.
they give every year to students, like the $60,000 one. if you are building a startup in cognizance with any Canadian, with any place in Canada, in collaboration with any Canadian like company, or in collaboration with any Canadian university, or any, basically you have to have collaboration, and the startup should be based in Canada, primarily based in Canada. So they will give you up to $60,000, but they also have very special programs where they give you a lot of funds for startups as well, where you want to go back and contribute to that work in India, in like Mexico, in US. You can also go and contribute to that work. But the only thing is that that startup has to be based
Okay.
in Canada. You can extend that startup to India, and they will guide you even in that. They will give you funding for that as well. You can take your startup to India and just work on it. That won't be a very big issue. But the only purpose is MITAS will only fund if you base it on Canada. And these perks are only for former global interns, the 60,000 one, and those special programs are open to anyone for application. Those who are like those who are thinking of doing a startup in cognizance with any Canadian university or any Canadian company or anything they want to do.
Okay.
um, so yeah, like as for what I have to say, this is one part of MITAX for like innovation. Also, MITAX has a lot of industrial projects open. Like these, as I told you, like in abroad, many professors are actually the head of the big companies, research divisions. So like there are professors from Waterloo who are head of the quantum computing divisions of North America and IBM. So like most of their PhD students later on join in IBM research only as like senior research engineers or something. And these professors, most of their PhD or work or master's work with the students are based on industrial projects. So that students are guaranteed a industrial research job right after, because the professor is itself the head of the research division along with being a professor. So like they have huge amounts of funding. So MITAS also collaborates with professors here. They provide industrial projects in collaboration with MITAS, and you can apply to these industrial projects in MITAS portal. And the only thing is you have to work with a Canadian company or a Canadian professor who is in working in collaboration with a Canadian company. And you can work
Okay.
for them and they will pay you. So that's the only thing where MyTax will fund you. So like it's kind of a remote job you can do, a remote internship. And MyTax is helping you not only in industry but also academia and research. So like it is kind of fostering a type of culture which will help you to get on with nice quality research as an undergraduate, nice quality industrial exposure. And that is the primary reason for me to choose MyTax
Okay.
to come for internships, because I had other options in foreign as well, which I chose to do remote along with this work. My primary purpose was thinking of the future, what MyTax gives you, the
Okay, so
perks
post,
and all
like you
that.
got selected, and how does it look like? Sort of like, if it seemed to me like it's pretty much similar to Google Summer of Code. And when I was choosing as a mentor, I was choosing mentees and I was prioritizing them. I was ranking them according to the proposals they have submitted, and it felt pretty much similar to that. And in G-Shock, if we compare, there are two
Yeah,
reports that we need to submit. One is midterm, one is end term. So is it similar to that?
similar here. Yeah, you
Okay.
have to submit a midterm report and a final review. It's not necessary that you have to submit the final review as well, because mostly professor just ticks you off if you have done the work, because professor has to submit a research
Satisfied.
overview, and if
Yeah.
he is done with the, like if he feels it's okay, he just ticks it and you don't have to
Okay.
even submit a report yourself. But a midterm review and final review is actually a part of the MyTax program. You have to do that. And also they give you a work visa, not a
Okay.
student visa or
And that is
uh,
given from my tax,
like
right? Like you need to not work for them.
that is given from visa center. But like I mean, MyTax
Okay.
funds you the visa as well. Like
Flight
they give
tickets
you
and
the
everything.
visa, like, and so if you, yeah, so if you miss the, like suppose your visa is rejected, then you can just tell them and they will get your visa done pretty quickly, even if your visa gets delayed, because at after all it is a organization from the government of Canada itself. So for like is there has been no one whose
Okay.
visa has been rejected. like finally, like those whose visa were rejected, they got their, after appealing, they got their visa, like after appealing to MITACS, they got their visa done in the next 5 to 10
Yeah.
days. So you get a work visa for 10 years, and that work visa is valid for like like basically it can be valid for 4 months, 10 years, it depends. Like for few students in our batch got 4 months, few students in our batch got 10 years. And you can use that work visa for basically working in
Okay.
anything in Canada. So yeah, that is one point which I want to specify, because this work visa will be pretty useful for you if you want to return back to do something in
Okay.
Canada as well
And
later on.
like taking forward, like
Yeah,
MyTex is something we can discuss. It's a big thing, and I guess we have covered a lot of segments that is important
yeah,
because major thing is getting in.
yeah,
Post that people figure that out on themselves. Like एक बार like अपन घुस जाए उसके बाद figure out हो जाता है धीरे धीरे. So now talking of things like there
yeah,
are opportunities that are different from MyTex. There must be some other openings. Like जैसे एक अपने को ही समझ आया from this podcast is firstly getting reached out and reaching out to professors. Secondly, it is my tax. And where are other
yeah,
sort of these kind of opportunities, if there are certain other ways where people also can work with this collaboration, be it India or abroad. Is there any certain formal way
yeah,
where professors list out that, hey, I'm looking out for researchers if someone wants to join in? I'm not sure, so is it also that way around?
yeah. So there are many, many research opportunities abroad which pay very, very well. I have to say that. And like why I am telling this, because I have personally got into a few of those. Like I have also got DART internship in Germany, and they
How much
also
is
pay
that?
you very decent enough in Germany. Uh, they give you a total around what did I say, around 3,500 euros or something, and more than that actually, but it is in euros, so it's good enough because you again save a lot. But more than that is that, like, in Germany, the research work is actually pretty good, but then in Dart, the point is the amount of perks you get in MITAX later on, because it's not only research organized work, is what led me to choose Dart, MITAX over Dart, as I have to say right now. But then Dart is a pretty nice opportunity, and there is a high CGPA criteria for that. And to find opportunities, I will say that it's like the first, like as I like people who have from IITs working in these universities, they've also left their industrial work. Like it's about your preference. If you like to do research work, you are getting decent funding, you can just leave your industrial work and you can just go for a research work as well. So like these people got to know of these opportunities mostly from their cell, from their placement cell. But I have seen that in our case, our placement cell wasn't that active to inform us of opportunities. So in that case, I had to do the hard work. So like I had to search through LinkedIn and then find a list of open source opportunities. I had to make a list, and I made a list. I have shared it in LinkedIn as well, where there are over 150 opportunities in total, and most of them are abroad. So after DART, there is also another internship known as ASCII internship, Alto Science Summer Institute internship, where they give you pretty decent, I'll say, they give you in total, uh, how much I'll say, I don't remember exactly, because, but I will say it's like comparable to MITAX. It is comparable to MITAX, and it is in Helsinki, Finland. And the perk of that internship is that you can also pursue that internship in the second year of your undergrad. And many of my like friends have pursued that internship in second year of their undergrad, and then in the third year they have done my tax internship and our internship. Also, there is another internship program in Japan known as the OIST research program. The OIST research program is a research program in Japan, and that gives you a completely funded PhD in that university as well after doing the internship. They also give you a decent stipend as well as a free PhD, like free PhD as well as a paid PhD, pretty decent income. As well as there are many programs in US which are very, very competitive to get in. Like, and even in Europe. In Europe, there is ETS Zurich. There is a program by ETS Zurich, and
Okay.
there is a program by CERN which pay you pretty well. Like, I will say some of them pay even higher than my tax. There is a program by University of Michigan. There is a Stanford SURF program. There is a Caltech NASA aeronautical based program as well as electronics related
So I
program.
guess your
There are
list will be,
several
like helpful
programs.
for everyone who is searching for it, right?
Yeah. So I have shared that list in GitHub. I'll be updating it. I'll be creating a website as well for these students. On it with my juniors to create that website very soon. So this website
Everyone,
will
right?
help the students to actually get in with this research, where to apply, what to
Yeah.
apply, how to apply. So that will be really crucial for them. But yes, opportunities are in plenty, and it's just you have to find it out. You have to know, and you have to apply, because most of the times I have seen people don't have that idea that there are such opportunities even available in the market where they can
Yeah,
actually explore.
and I guess that is a concern with a
So
lot
yeah,
of people. And I guess you're some of the first one who did this thing of sort of compiling and making it a GitHub repository, right? So I will be listing that repository
yeah,
in the description, so folks check that out. Also, as you mentioned about CERN, so I will be also having someone who got into CERN this time, and we will be also discussing about CERN. So make sure to subscribe. Now, taking things a bit ahead, you mentioned, like, normally, as I have seen that SOP is a big thing whenever we are applying in internationally, right? Like, people and professors at least want to know your statement of purpose. So a lot of questions are around, like, how should you write the best SOP, what you should include, what you should not include. So what are your tips on it, and if you have any sample SOP that you might want to share about, or anything on that.
right. So see, SOP is something which even I need to work upon. I'm on it myself, so I cannot give like some advice which will be like very good or something. Like, I cannot say it's very good or something, but I can definitely share my experience that what should an SOP contain. So basically, an SOP essentially should contain that why are you interested to work in the professor's lab, what brings you to the what, like what skill set do you have that you feel is suitable for the professor to select you in the lab, what is your motivation to apply in the lab, and what is your research experience, like particular to that field. So these four things are very important. What you should be writing in an SOP, along with other details as well, that how you got into research, what interests you. But these details should be very less. What should be focused primarily is then on your research work, and that also in a very concise and brief way. So personally, I have found some nice resources for SOP. You can get the template of Harvard SOP in their own website. But then, if you want to know the guidelines of writing SOP, there are many people, experienced people, who have shared their guidelines on how to write SOP. I have taken a lot of help from my own seniors regarding this, and I have a template of like given by a senior of mine who is currently in ETS Zurich, and he has given a very like concise overview on what should an SOP contain, and what you should write and what you should not write in particular. Because this SOP is very important, because the professor doesn't know who you are, right? So in this SOP, you have to tell them that okay, you are, yeah, you are this person, this is your work, and this is why you are interested. So this SOP is also one of the major reasons why you are getting selected for a university. And this SOP is not only crucial for your master's application, but also for students who are in class, like who are in upper higher education, who are pursuing class 12. They also have to give this SOP to universities, and this SOP works a lot to get them into huge amount of scholarship, also to like get them into those universities. So I'll say that SOP should essentially contain three parts in conclusion. One, your introduction. Why did you get into research? Second, the like what do you like about the professor's lab, and what prior experience do you have, or what prior projects you have done which makes you think that you are suitable for that project lab. And third, what you want to achieve in future by working with the professor. Like, the professor may also be working in any kind of project. As I told you, professors work in industrial as well as academic project. So you have to be specific that in the future, what do you want to achieve by working with the professor in those projects. Like the professor has to be aware of your motivation. So these three things should be essentially there in
Okay.
a SOP. So this is for an SOP if you are applying for research abroad or a master's application. In master's application, you can modify it a little bit. For that, I'll be like sharing some resources. But for research work, as I have shared, I can do share like if you want, I can share one of my SOPs for a accepted research program abroad, and that will definitely, I guess,
Surely,
help the people
surely.
who have
And
seen this
also
video.
adding on that, uh, like as from your experience, I've also guess you also got to work with Samsung R&D, or you got the opportunity, right? So how was it? And even ST Microelectronics,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
yeah.
that was in engineering segment. Yeah,
Yeah, that was software dev. Like when I was
yeah,
into working into software dev. So I will say that this thing, like I got two internship offers in this for the summer. So one was
okay,
by TCS R&D, TCS Research and Innovation. So their work was very nice, but the thing is, like I had many foreign internships abroad, and I had to select one of them. So I got I had to choose MITACS for obvious reasons, which I have already specified. And after that, I got an offer from Samsung, which is through a referral, and then I had to go through two rounds of interviews, and finally I got the Samsung R&D internship. So the first interview was DSA based, the second interview was machine
okay,
learning based. The internship was a 6 month internship offer. I had options of starting it in winter or in summer as well. Like, so I told the HR to delay it to
okay.
winter because I had this foreign internships going on at the moment. So after doing this, I'll be doing the internship in Samsung in the winter, and I had to leave the TCS internship for now. Like I had tried to extend it till somewhere in like October to December or something. If I can do work on the project, I even called the manager and told him so. But then they have some company policies, so I'm not sure they will let me do that or not. So most probably I had to leave the TCS offer. But the Samsung, I will be doing the internship in 6 months in my final
Okay,
semester
and that's
remotely.
totally great. And I guess you have experience of both the segments, be it academia or getting into the research field in companies. So you have faced a lot of interviews, I'm guessing, and I'm pretty sure you have faced. So how is the general rounds, right? Like what all things they ask you in interviews while you are doing that? Because एक चीज like मेरे को काफी दिखता है, like whenever we have a lot of research paper in our resume, people don't tend to hire you because they're feeling ki you will leave the company and go for higher studies. So the yeah, and it
Yeah, that
happens,
has
right?
happened to me.
Like companies don't prefer that because they want to have an employee जो at least 2 साल रहे. I have seen, like I have asked with some of the employers and they have like at least 2 years.
Yeah,
But if you have business papers, they
yeah.
leave. Yeah,
So
yeah,
this happened to me. So I like to share my experience. So during my placement season, before I got into the research internship abroad offers or even the Samsung R&D, which was off-campus offer, by the way. So my TCS offer was the on-campus one, the research and innovation program. So like obviously I did not apply to all the companies. I had software development companies or R&D companies in mind. So like I did not get shortlisted for the two banking companies which came into my college, even after solving the OS completely. But then I had the privilege to get selected for media.net, like from my college, and I was the only one who went to the final interview. I did the final interview properly, and in the HR round, the collaborative round, I got rejected. I don't know why I got rejected, but yes, I was asked a lot about my research experience abroad and why did I go into research. And later on, for 20 minutes, I was asked about that. That so I don't know why I got rejected because my interview went pretty well, I guess, because I answered the questions correctly. But then it was bad luck for me in that situation. Also, I lacked the ability, like, I maybe could not answer one question related to system design, typical question, system design or something. But then it's not that I could not answer. I told them directly that system design is not in our course, and the interview feedback was good. But when we are talking about research, he was essentially asking me that, okay, you have pursued a research internship abroad. So, like, what do you want to do in the future? So, like, in that case, I was pretty clear that, okay, I also like research and all that stuff. And maybe that has led to a factor of me getting rejected from media.net. After that, Even in Accenture, the whole like even other companies came in. I applied for those companies, and like after that, most of the companies which came in are not of my interest. Like there are companies many like many companies don't come for internship in our college. So like after that, the only company which I applied for was Accenture. I got into the final round, and in the final round, they only asked me about my resume. And the resume they gave me only research, like why you want to do that, what have you done before. So I was clear that even if I tried that, okay, this is my experience, I like to do that work. That is why I went into that and all that. The interview feedback was again amazing. He told that I'm looking forward to see you in the company, and then I get a rejection just 2 days later. So I think that yes, like this has happened to me in all the three companies' final interviews I went in my campus. So like they asked me a lot about the research work in my resume, and then finally they give a good feedback because I always ask for a feedback, and then they reject. So I am not sure that it plays a role or not, because the interviewer will never directly tell you, okay, you have
Yeah,
this, that's I'm rejecting or something. So they won't. In fact, they always give me a good feedback and then rejecting it. So I think to an extent, they it plays a good role in terms of the company getting you. Like if you don't have a lot of research experience, they're willing to think, okay, this guy will not leave the company. So I think it plays a nice
okay,
role for that. If you list your research achievements, the company may be more willing to take you because they think that
absolutely.
you will
And
stick with the
now to
company.
the point,
Yeah.
like how this research internships around how those interviews goes on, what are the differences between the.
Yeah.
Sure.
But another thing,
Mm-hmm.
in R&D companies like TCS and Samsung, they favor that, okay, you're doing research, I'll take you in, because these companies are very like they encourage you that, okay, you go for your masters also. They'll fund your masters
Yeah.
for a bond, of course. It's not that they will fund you for free, but yeah, like these companies are the ones who like to take in people who have done research. So yeah, like if you're going for pure software development roles, if you have research, like especially in very nice universities, they will likely to think that you're about to leave. But I'm not sure of this because I've never got a direct feedback from any interviewer about this. But yes, like I have got that experience personally. And coming up to the next question, which you asked me about the research interviews. So the research interviews are like it can be of two types. They can ask you direct questions in the interviews, which has happened to me earlier. But then mostly it is like they give you an assessment, you have to do that assessment properly, and then they take a face-to-face interview of you, either like through video on, like either through online or offline. They take a face-to-face interview, like using camera on, and then they will ask you certain questions. And like it can be like it depends on your research work. If it's AI/ML, they will give you some work suddenly, and they'll you have to solve the problem. If it's like software development, they will give you a code and you have to debug the fix the bugs. So like mostly these interviews are not taken by professors. They're taken by the PhD students under them if you're working in a research internship. But it can also be taken by the professor. So now these research internship work, first is mostly you will see that there will be an assessment, and second there will be an interview. In that interview, it's more calm. Like the questions are asked are morely theoretical, but in the assessment, it's like you have to code and you have to give them certain results, and if they like the results, they
Yeah.
invite you for an
Understandable.
interview. So mostly research interviews are based like that. Also, if you're working for top colleges or something, like a research paper is very crucial to even get an assessment from a professor. like like if you want to get in with a very highly acclaimed professors, like I told you, like professors who are themselves have high funding in millions, so those people will tend to select bet on students who can do the work, who have a lot of research experience, or who have a lot of achievements. It need not be research experience also. Like they can also take students who are in class 11, but they are like have done INOI or IOI, and who has done some great work in Olympiad, who has some great fundamentals in mathematics or great fundamentals in programming. So it's not necessary they will take students only from colleges. For them, the excellence in their field matters. So like if the student is ready, he has some nice achievements, then they will take in for an interview. So getting shortlisted is like getting some research work or nice projects. Getting shortlisted is the main work, then doing the assessment, And then the interview, after the assessment, the interview is pretty chill, I will say. It's more like the convincing the professor you're motivated to do the
Okay,
project or not. It's like a HR interview of the
got it.
company, I'll say.
So, yeah.
Most
So, as
like
you
that.
mentioned, that having fundamentals clear are important, right? And from normally,
Yeah.
what I have seen is, if we are, so, how would you make it? Like, what are the general resources that you would suggest to someone who have want to get their basics pretty clear? Like,
Yeah, so having a nice plan is the most important part. If you are very disciplined with how you want to get on with learning something, that is actually crucial. So, resources for AIML is like primarily, I like to tell you that you have to complete the Andrew NG course in YouTube. Like you cannot complete it, but you have to like you have to do it to a certain extent so that your basics of machine learning is clear. And then you can move with MIT OpenCourseWare, where there are nice working examples and theory on deep learning. So after getting a hang with it, you don't have to do a lot. Like you don't have to complete the course or something. You have to read the fundamentals, the little like you have to cover the basic parts of it, and then finally you have to start building projects in Kaggle. You have to participate in Kaggle competitions, and once you are comfortable with implementation of simple machine learning models or deep learning models, you can think of how you can come up with something of your own, what modification you can do on your own, and then you can make then you can start contacting PhD students and get on with what their research work is, read research papers, because even clearing the fundamentals will let you understand at least 70% of a research paper, because the rest 30% you have to update yourself. It is like software engineering only. Like like I'll give you an example. The TensorFlow library gets deprecated. So if you have done something earlier, you have to know that okay, the new package, what does it contain? So you have to read the uh, thing again. You have to read the like documentation again and understand okay, these are the new things which are coming. Similarly in AIML also, like in research papers, what does it mean? Like most research papers, if you are reading something novel work, then okay, your basics, like it will be the basics only, but they'll modify it in some way. So like after your basics are clear and you're comfortable with implementation of models which you'll practice through Kaggle and everything, then you can read research papers, and research papers is the best way to get yourself updated in AIML. Like what are the new trends coming in AIML, what you can do, what modifications you can learn, what is the best thing to do at the moment, how to get on with the industry. You can also have industrial research papers. You see, the primary work of the R&D divisions of companies is to produce quality research papers, open source it and integrate it into their own system so that it helps them. Like example, Bard. Bard is actually developed by a set of like it's developed by Google Brain, who among them who are few are also professors in University of Toronto in Canada. Like suppose Transformer, it was come up with Google Brain. So like once they came up with this R&D divisions came up with these things, if you keep on reading this new updates, you'll be updated with okay, what is happening around the system, how you have to update yourself, what you have to study. And also, if you have come up with something new, then you can like go for the research proposal alone or go for a supervisor in your college or with a senior or a PhD student and do something of your own. So I think AIML research, the top things I'll say is the Andrew NG videos in YouTube. The MIT OpenCourseWare is the one of the best resources you can find for free. And the third will be the Kaggle discussion section. The Kaggle discussion section is very useful along with Stack Exchange. The Stack Exchange helps you a lot to solve your doubts. Whatever doubts you have the most intelligent people in the world replying to you there to get your doubts solved, whatever problems you're having, right? Either in implementation or in theory. So, I mean, there are no dearth of resources in this field. Everything is literally open source. So, but to start with it, Andrew NG course, and then getting on with MIT Open Course and Kaggle, like small projects in Kaggle, is the
okay, but
best way to
another
go forward.
problem, like that I've seen with people who are getting into IML is it requires a lot of maths and statistics, and generally people get stuck, right? Like it is like we if we know the algorithm we can write, but it is difficult for us to develop new algorithms. So what do you think, like, people should read a bit of statistics and then get into it, or in the process whatever is required they should read? And for statistics also, yeah.
I'll say I will say in the process to get forward with it, they should be implementing process, and in the process they should also try to learn something new. Because like point is the amount of mass needed in top ML research, I mean, that is incomprehensible to even mathematicians. As engineers, it's very difficult for us to do like that as an undergraduate, right? So, along because see, like machine learning nowadays is an open source thing. Like like you can also be a person who is implementing AI ML into software products, right? You don't have to do only machine learning for theoretical research. As I told you, these AI machine learning projects can be applied to industrial projects. So you can think of some tweaks in the structure which will make it more industrially applicable, and then you can like give it away to people, like services to people. But then to get on with top research in machine learning requires a lot of mathematics. That is very important, and that is why most of the people who are right now like top CTOs of companies, like US based companies, have done that PhD in that similar domain. Like you can get an example of Parag Agarwal. He did his PhD in machine learning, then moved on, built the whole recommendation system of Twitter from 2012 and became the CTO, and then finally the CEO before being laid off. That's a different issue. But point is that the that PhD helped him to gather that, like, to network with the best individuals in the planet in that domain, and then get on with his own work. Like to get on the knowledge he gained, he applied that. It's not that he did something very new in Twitter or something, but yes, he got the overview. Okay, this way he can do it. So getting like there are two kinds of work you can do in MIML. One is application based work, one is theoretical research. So I will say that keep on applying ML in your projects, see how it is working, how you can also like along with that read research papers alongside, try to improve your theoretical background. Because like it can like it is not possible for you to
Absolutely.
like do every like complete every part of the theory and then start with the implementation part of it. It's literally not possible for you. So I will say that, and even if and if you do it that way, like you're implementing projects on the throw alongside, you are learning the theory. So what will that help you is that it will also help you to see that what's the impact of this domain, and it will bring you more interest to do stuff in this domain. That is why my advice will be to do both alongside. It's not possible to do one
Okay.
completely or
Now
something.
people need your guidance, right? Like as you mentioned, and you have, been into the thing and you're doing that approximately for 3 years now. And you also plan to continue doing that. But there are people who are in the first year, second year, third year, and even people I guess in the fourth year who are just a bit confused on, how to get started or yeah, we
I'm getting a
can.
call.
Okay.
Okay, anyways, yeah,
Okay. We
let's
will
continue.
wrap up in just two questions and left.
Yes.
Uh, sure.
Just no, it's not a problem actually. It's like a guy from India is only calling me. We're working on a project. Nothing
Okay.
much. Yeah, let's
So,
continue now.
like people are confused on how they can start or the best way even, to write research papers, because people get confused on where, how to write, then where to publish and what to do things. So maybe you can guide people, someone think a first year kid who just got into college and he or she wants to get started into this journey, and to the point where someone has written a paper and they want to publish, now where to publish, to this point, what will be a total guidance to them.
Yeah. So, like as I said, my first research work was a very long. Like it took me a very long time because I got projects to do. I got first projects to do, which is not even part of the main project. I just got okay. You do this project. You implement this. After implementing this, he felt okay. He's improving. He gave me other projects. After I did all those implementation, he told okay, you read this and then you work on the main project. So, the first project, the first breakthrough which you make will be very crucial for you. You will learn a lot. It will take a lot of time, like 70, sorry, it will take around 7 months or 8 months or something like that. Once you learn in 6, 7 months and you do the project, after that, like like in that single project you will learn what is how to do literature review, what is like how to what is essential components of a research paper. And then the PhD student or the professor themselves will also, if you request them, they'll also guide you how to write. Mostly the PhD students will guide you. Professors don't get time at all, they're that busy. Because as I told you, like even in India, they have industrial projects, they have government projects, like these like because the major earning of a professor is not only from teaching but also from those big projects from big companies they're getting in. Like their funding is in crores, as I told you. So like these professors don't get time, but yes, these PhD students are the ones who work for the professors for to complete these projects. And these PhD students take in these undergraduate students because it's not plausible for them to actually do all that work alone. And that is why the ecosystem of internship in research has come up. And in abroad, the advantage is that this thing is not funded by you only companies, but it's also funded by the government. But in India, that government funding for research is quite less. So, anyways, but getting on to the question is that in your first work, you'll get a lot of exposure that how to get on with a research work, how what is a research paper essentially consisting of, and how to write a research paper. Even if you don't get that, you what you can do is you can approach a professor from your own college department and you say that I want to work under you. It may be unpaid also. Even if it is unpaid, the the thing is the professor will at least guide you. Okay, this is how you have to do, this is how you do it. After you do the work, even if it's unpaid work, once you get that experience, you right now know how to implement it. So next time when you apply to another like huge grant, like research grant or something, then those people will value your work. That you, okay, previously you have written a research paper, you have worked on some, like not previously written on a research, like yeah, previously written a research paper, you have previously worked on a research project. And okay, this guy, if he gets also new, like if I give him new work, he can also come up with something of its own, he can do the work on its own. So the point is, the first break is the most important part. That will take you a long time to like do the work, learn the work. And after you are comfortable with it, the next few projects is very easy for you to complete with. Like once you have that experience, okay, this is how a research paper is written, you can literally write a research paper in 4 to 5 days. So like what I intend to do after this is that I want to create a kind of a community, which I will do eventually. And this community will be essentially on guiding high school students to pursue research. Like we will bring 3 high school students with 1 PhD student and like 1 experienced undergraduate student who will be working on a particular small research project, application based research project. And our purpose will be to introduce to them what research is so that they can go on to do a research project, like a research paper eventually, even in their high school itself. And what inspires me to do this? What inspires me to do this is because similar programs are in MIT, CMU, where they take in students, like students in class 7, 8, 9. They take these students to let them, like in a cohort of under a professor, where these they work together to publish a research paper. But my like so I am inspired by that to build this research ecosystem in India, because once students do that, they will essentially know what's the value of this work, what can, like how can, like because with research, with a research ecosystem, innovation will come in. And by research ecosystem development, I don't only mean research in AI ML. Research can be anywhere. A project can come up with anywhere. You can try like a research project. A project can also be to build a software package of your own or a AI ML library of your own, which can be like also be open sourced. Like if you see the biggest innovation, like I am inspired because the biggest innovation I have seen coming into tech has come in that way only. These products they have built, these products are later monetized, but these products were built by students. They were like how Facebook came into being, how Google came into being. All this big tech which you are seeing were actually products built by these students of these top colleges, inspired by the professors who gave them that freedom to fail, and they did those projects, and later they monetized it. I personally feel that in abroad we have a lot of things which is not even equivalent to what we have in India. India is far ahead in several things as well. For example, we have the UPI payment system in India. There is nothing like that in US or Canada where you can pay in just scanning a QR code very quickly. So like you can learn a lot of stuff here. You can integrate and come that and build that in India. Like you can build, and also you can learn a lot of stuff in India, and then you can go and build it in Canada, or you can build it in US. You can build it in Singapore. So like but the point is, like we may think of many ideas, but if we don't have a research ecosystem and the fundings to pull it off, then we cannot monetize it for the benefit of ourselves. Like it will be more of a issue that you have to go in different place and work. But if you want to build something of your own, research is very crucial, because like most of the startups in India right now are
US
like kind
model.
of copied from projects which are done abroad. Like if you see the example of even Zomato, Swiggy, they are not new things. They have already been implemented, and those things have come up in India. So like staying abroad, going with cutting edge research, you can also have like build your skills, build like learn stuff from there, and come up in India and build a startup regarding that and improve it. Or else what you can do is try to build the research ecosystem of India, and then try to build products inherently in India itself. But then, like to even do that, you need a lot of connections, a lot of people to help you out. And I just want to give back what I have got, the bare minimum. I mean, the bare minimum I can do is at least help high school students to how to get on with research projects. So, so these high school students can later on be interested in research, pursue something, and build something innovative later on in the future. And so that like things don't like things in Indian universities are mostly like, okay, first 2 years chill, somehow work stuff, and then get an internship, and then get on with a permanent job somehow. So like this thing gets
Yeah.
changed. Like these people are motivated in such a way that okay, they can get into a software job if they want. They're that skilled, and also they take the risk to develop something of their own. Because if they don't take that risk right now to do research or to do something of their own, later on it will be really difficult. I think that for student, like for people to get out of their comfort zone and do something of their own. Because if you see, I want to work on
Yeah.
some product which is novel. I don't want to do something like, okay, this is already there in Canada, or this is already there in US or in Europe, and I want to bring it into India. So, like, if you see in that situation, BITS, IIT Bombay, people have done a great job. The integration of the foreign universities and their integration and building a research ecosystem, and that research ecosystem getting in on with it to build startups in India is the reason why more than 50% of IITians are actually the owners of companies which are over a billion worth. And that is why I think building a research ecosystem even in other universities are possible. It's just that you have to show them the perks, the opportunities which they're not aware of. Like software jobs are really nice, but then if you are having that will, you can do, also have that as a backup, as well as go to pursue your dreams of doing something innovative. So like if we can actually build the ecosystem from high school itself and not focus then I think we can actually have people who are interested in engineering rather. That will,
I
I
got you.
think that I want to contribute towards that. And I am asking my professor, and my professors have also agreed to help me with this project. So like they will help me with this project, like they will are also agreeing to host high school students to get them learning with the thing, and we will be starting
You
this
know,
very
like
soon.
you got me sort of hooked with this thing. And I really feel like these are two major things. Firstly, like when we think of engineering, it should be actual engineering, not getting a job. Right, like this mindset should be changed. Like, people, as you mentioned, like whenever we are doing engineering, it's mostly at the end of 4 year, get a job and settle down. But doing something that actual engineering, building something, innovation is something that hooked me. And secondly, even if we don't consider like this fact immediately, at least people from small cities, or who want to go to Ivy League schools in US, like they lack their resume. Like in my school days, I did not have any resume. But whenever you are applying for any Ivy League school or any school in US, you need to have a good resume and you need to have everything. Like, and I started building my resume when I was in my university. So things were a bit different. But if there are high schoolers who are actually working, that would actually increase the chances of getting selected. And and you, as you mentioned, the opportunities abroad is so much more if we compare in terms of research, right? So, and I really hope that you achieve what you're planning for, and I would really like to join in if it is possible to join in as well. Now, it was a really nice podcast, and I got to learn a lot of things. And to be very honest, I knew about research only from the part that when I sort of needed to complete my research paper in 7 days of college and just submit with the random thesis, and I did that. I had legit no idea what I did, and even professor had no idea what I wrote. And she was like, okay, just submit and go get your degree and leave the college. And so that is something I had. But now I learned a lot, to be very honest. Like, and even like over here I can say, just this is the podcast where I learned the most, because was a segment where it was very different from what I had in me. And thanks for teaching me.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure you invite.
Okay, now
You know,
talking to the final segment, that is, I tried to ask everything that came into my mind, and what will be
yeah.
your final thoughts on it. And folks, if you I will be sharing the socials of Anubhav in the description, so do check that out. I know this podcast is a bit long, but if you're still watching, I really hope that you get what you're aiming for. So do contact Anubhav. His socials will be in the description. And now, taking forward, like Anubhav, like if there is anything that you want to add, or if you want to give any final piece of advice, uh, you can give. Yeah.
So I'll just give the thinking, like my thinking towards research. So I'll say treat research not as something which what you see your professor is teaching you or something and what they do, or a paper as research. Treat research as anything related to innovation. And as you treat research as innovation, as you get excited towards your work, try to build something, try to work on something which has not been done before and which can be used to make your lives easier. And that is what you can call research. And I think that getting on with the simple way of going to a job, yes, that is also has a very difficult pathway. You have to do a lot of work to get into a software job. But what I mean to see is it's not only a software job or an electrical or hardware job or something. What I will say is that if you have to take the risk, if you have to do something innovative of your own, then like this is the best time for you to actually start to get interested in something and just not run after the like what majority people do. Okay, you have money here, you have money there, because if you see, you have a lot of money in these things. And my experience before is that I have two of my fellows whom I have worked with, and they are right now owners of a unicorn, and they have not even done their bachelor's. They are the owners of Zepto. I have previously worked with Zepto, and I know those two individuals. So, if you have to take risk, this is the best time to take a risk to pursue your dreams. Later on, once you get settled, things really become difficult. And this is not coming from me. This is an advice which have been given by my alumni, and they have always encouraged me to take the risks to do what I want. And but also alongside, always have the passion, like to do something which you have passion about. That is what I will say. Don't treat research as an academia based paper, you just release the paper and it's done. Treat research as something you're doing, something innovative you're doing, and get on with it. So that is what I will say. And for any help regarding any process, even I'll be getting on with my admissions process very soon. So, like, you can hit me up. I'll get time. I'll definitely reply you back. Thanks a lot, Anikita, for the invitation. I really loved the interview process, like the interview with you, and it was really
Yeah,
fun
thanks a
discussing
lot,
all this
Anubhav,
with
for your
these
valuable
people.
time,
With these
and
people.
thanks a lot all for listening. And just subscribe, because I will be bringing in more content that might be of use to you. And so I don't want you guys to miss on something important. So make sure to subscribe, and bye bye.